Alright folks, what's up? Welcome to Dragonflight. A Holy Paladin in an absolute really fun spot here. I was a little worried that Holy was going to see a big step backwards as we kind of transitioned. Like we were kind of owning a lot of charts with our Glimmer builds back in BFA, and then through Shadowlands, I've seen its popularity wane a little bit through different kind of builds throughout the game, but overall, as we go into Dragonflight, this class is a absolute ton of fun. We're going to touch on a couple different things here today. From a build perspective, Holy Paladin has about 4 different builds that are pretty competitive right now. We'll touch first on the raid builds, so feel free to jump ahead down below in terms of what you're specifically interested in. As far as the melee build that you're specifically going to be looking at here, some of the key talents that this build is going to be built around, obviously Avenging Wrath, that's going to be the go-to for any Paladin build. You're going to be able to make a choice between Judgment of Light or the Golden Path, and it just kind of depends on how close you are from a melee perspective. If you're really up there with a group that doesn't have as many casters, Golden Path definitely has some perks to it. If you're back a bit more, having the benefit of this stacking Judgment does make life a little bit easier. Ultimately, where we're going to go is pick up Divine Purpose, still incredibly valuable here for any kind of Holy Pal, so love to see it. You're going to see as you continue with the different builds, as you get up to level 70, of Dusk and Dawn will be your go-to, and then correspondingly the Seal of Order. So if you're not familiar with how this worked, effectively, when you're at 5 holy power, your damage and healing gets increased by 5%. You get this buff for 20 seconds. Blessing of Dusk actually goes the other way. Your damage taken actually gets reduced by 4%. So I really enjoy this from Prop Pal. It's just kind of passive in terms of Ret and Holy out there today, so keep that in mind. Finally, Sanctified Wrath is going to be our go-to. Basically having an additional 2-minute cooldown, being able to do nothing but absolutely drive out huge healing per second is going to be incredibly satisfying. The other key elements you'll see, this entire build is set up around Crusader Strike having 2 charges. We're in melee range. Going with Second Sunrise, so Light of Dawn has a 20% chance to create a second cone of light immediately after the first. Nice to see that proc drop there. Avenging Wrath Might, so effectively being able to drive up our critical strike chance by 20% for 20 seconds. Super valuable for us. We'll go next to Awakening, so having Word of Glory and Light of Dawn have a 15% chance to grant you your wings for 8 seconds. And then finally, we're actually going to jump back down here and go with Empyrean Legacy. So Judgment empowers your next Word of Glory to automatically activate Light of Dawn with 25% increased effectiveness. So you can kind of see how this build is complementing the other side of the tree. Having this up is going to be super satisfying, and we're going to see all kinds of massive crit numbers pop up from a healing perspective here. As you progress, you'll also go with Divine Toll. We're going to keep that as a carryover from our Shadowlands friend, so nice not to lose that ability. However, we will go with Divine Resonance, and then we're actually going to go down with Glimmer of Light. So what you're going to see today is that actually all builds are built around maximizing your Holy Shock and Glimmer of Light abilities. Sanctified Wrath, Awakening, all of this is consistent from build to build. So really satisfying overall. Really the biggest challenge that you're going to find with the melee build is that mana is going to be a major bit of a challenge for us every once in a while. So you might want to manage your Crusader's Might build if you choose to go that way. Go with more of a Relentless Inquisitor or Breaking Dawn build instead, but there's a ton of fun to be had with this build. Ton of fun. So play around with this, decide if Crusader's Might is the right ability to bring here or not, but Holy Shock is really what we're trying to maximize. Now, from a caster perspective, we're not going to see a massive difference here. What we're really trying to do is maximize the amount of Holy Shock that you cast, which maximizes the amount of infusion of lights that you get. So once you get those procs kind of talking to each other, then you can cast that on Holy Light. Really gets your beacon of light target all stacked up, so your tanks are really going to benefit from this. Overall, not a massive difference for us. Kind of the key abilities that we're going to build around. Consistent as before. Sanctified Wrath, no change there. Divine Purpose, we're going to go with Seal of Order, Dusk and Dawn. That's all the beauties. Big one for us here. Resplendent Light. So Holy Light heals up to 5 targets within 12 yards for 8% of its healing. And then we've actually got a couple of different choices with this build. You can take Awakening, go down, take Empyrean Legacy. Or alternatively, you can go with a slightly different approach here, and you can go with Barrier of Faith, go with Tears Deliverance, allowing you to heal yourself, 5 injured allies instantly, really helpful. And then finally, Boundless Salvation, so casting Flash of Light on targets affected by Tears Deliverance, the previous ability, extends the duration of Tears Deliverance by 2.5 seconds. Casting Holy Light on targets affected by Tears Deliverance extends the duration of your Tears Deliverance by 5 seconds. So really starts to get valuable. You can really keep your Tears Deliverance up for a maximum of 50 seconds. And really, this is the key element to keep in mind. Allies also receive 25% increased healing from your Holy Light and Flash of Light spells for 10 seconds. So what does this mean? You're actually going to be able to just drop nuke heals with this build. I'm picturing bear tanks with their huge health pools, and we're just going to have them totally stacked up. So that's going to be a ton of fun. Now, finally, the final raid build that we have out here right now. This is around Maraud's Breath, and we should be familiar with this from our time in Shadowlands, but there's a couple of different aspects of this. One of the key parts is actually we're going to continue with Divine Toll, Divine Resonance, Glimmer of Light, but we're actually going to go from Awakening down to Blessing of Summer, which is also a carryover from Shadowlands, if you can remember. We're going to pick up on that, and we're actually going to pick up on Empyrean Legacy as well. So overall, we'll have 3 of kind of the ultimate talents that we're stewarding towards over here. We end up backing up a little bit from a talent perspective. What we do see, no major change over here. We're going to continue with of Dusk and Dawn, Seal of Order, Seal of Might, and then Sanctified Wrath. So no significant change there. This probably isn't going to be the absolute best build, but it's actually going to be fantastic for spot healing and allow you to effectively manage your mana consumption really well. What I will next touch on, and this is where the real fun for me anyway is going to be going into Dragonflight. Holy Paladin in Mythic Plus. I think Holy's in a fantastic spot here. I think you're going to see a lot of elements that are going to make Holy Pal competitive as if we weren't before. Certainly having Rebuke come back and us having a kick is going to make a huge difference. We've got a 1-minute cooldown reduction on Blessing of Sacrifice. We've got Sacrifice of the Just, that basically reduces that cooldown time down to 1 minute for Blessing of Sacrifice. So we're going to be dropping that all the time. I actually anticipate Blizz is going to have to nuke this. Like, we're going to have to nerf this down into the ground because it's incredibly powerful, especially when we start to add echoing blessings, which makes Blessing of Sacrifice basically over a 40% damage reduction. It's absolutely huge. As long as you're using your Infusion of Light procs to drop Flash of Light or Holy Light on your beacons, like, honestly, Holy Pal is going to slap cheeks, is what I'm going to say. Just wait. It's going to be topping the Mythic Plus charts this year. Alright, so as far as what that build looks like, once you get to level 70, you're going to prioritize Glimmer of Light, Blessing of Summer, as well as Empyrean Legacy. So very consistent with the Murad's Breath. No real significant changes here from what you see on the tree. It's effectively just the addition of these 3 abilities. So keep that in mind. Again, Crusader's Might is your choice. You can take that in a different direction if you prefer. Ultimately, for me, I really enjoy having Divine Toll on hand, so I'm not backing off in that front. Now, jumping back to the Paladin base build, the real choices that you're going to have, ultimately, do you want to carry Blinding Light? For me, I really like having an AoE. I know it's not a perfect stun, but it's a disorient. I think that complements the group, especially with Holy Pal being in melee range most of the time. Absolutely fantastic. And then we're going to continue to see some really fun builds here. So as the tree expands, we're going to go down. Of Dusk and Dawn and Seal of Order is the absolute go-to. We'll jump over to Seal of Alacrity, and then after that, over to Sanctified Wrath. Really straightforward build. I know there's a lot of similarity here between all the different talents that are out there, but ultimately, that's kind of where we are right now. It's a little wild. We're in a very fun, cool spot here, going into Dragonflight, and I think we're just going to continue to see more and more come at us here in terms of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. Holy Pal, be ready for it. We're topping the charts. It's going to be awesome in Dragonflight. Enjoy, take advantage of that B-res that we have. That's also just absolutely incredibly valuable. Dragonflight's going to be a bunch of fun. Later, folks. Peace.